Hey guys, and welcome back to another recent viewing video. And this time I'm talking about a movie that I watched just a couple of days ago. One of my favorite, all-time comedy movies. A true classic in my opinion, a 90s classic for sure. And that movie is Friday, starring Ice Cube and Chris Tucker and a whole list of other great actors and people who were in this movie. And I want to talk really quick about why I felt inspired to watch this movie again. It had been probably a good 10 or more years since the last time I watched it. Even though I bought it a handful of years ago, it was actually one of the first Blu-rays that I ever owned. But I had never opened the movie itself on the Blu-ray that I bought until just the other day. But I was so inspired to watch this movie because at my store where I work at, we work in electronics, so we're all pretty much film junkies and video game junkies or, something like that. We love our movies, our TV shows, our music, our games. And Friday has been a movie that we have been exchanging quotes with each other for a couple of years, and here and there, and sometimes we don't think about it for a while. I'd say over the last 2 or 3 weeks, it had just gotten to a level of Friday quote saturation that we were all kind of in the mood to see the movie again. So I popped mine open a couple nights ago, and I sat down and watched it. I actually fell asleep within 10 or 15 minutes of the ending of the movie, but I finished it up the next day after work, and it was so awesome to watch it. But I'll tell you what. One of the last movies that I watched was Shawshank Redemption. That was a 90s movie, one of my favorite movies of all time. A movie that when I sit down and watch it, I get lost in it, and I get wrapped up in the story and the characters, and it makes me feel awesome. Friday gives me all kinds of good feelings, but even more so than Shawshank Redemption, it gives me the feelings of like 90s nostalgia. Like it really took me back to the mid to late 90s when I used to watch this movie with my friends on VHS. I wish I still had my VHS copy to show, but I had on VHS. We used to watch it, rewind it, watch it again. My friends, my little group of friends that I had in Montana when I lived there, Friday was absolutely one of our favorite movies. Even my friend John, who like, as far as like rap and hip-hop culture would be concerned, he had no interest. He could watch that movie and get a laugh out of it. And then, like I said, some of my friends around here where I live, my friends from work, love that movie, know that movie inside and out. So it was just such a great pleasure to sit down and rewatch a classic 90s comedy. And when I was watching the featurette that's in the special features on the Blu-ray, I believe his name is Faison Love. He was the guy who played Big Worm. He actually he said in that interview, he was like, at one point it all dawned on us that we had basically made the first black stoner comedy out there. And I was like, you know what? That's really funny because that's pretty much true, I would say. When people think of stoner comedies, they think of things like Dazed and Confused, and they think of maybe even a little bit like Fast Times at Ridgemont High, and just you might also think about all the Cheech and Chong movies from back in the day, and like I said, a shit ton of other movies, but not very many movies highlighted this aspect of like culture, hip hop culture. Ice Cube starring in this movie, basically writing it about his experiences with people that he knew in the movie. The director of the movie filming some of it right in his own neighborhood that he used to live in when he was younger. I'm a pasty-faced white guy, so it would seem like a movie like this wouldn't appeal to me, but it always did. I always just loved it. I laughed at it. I quoted it. I loved the music. I mean, I was big into hip-hop around that time, so it made sense. But my friends that I hung out with in Montana had a lot to do with it too, especially my friend Eric. He may have actually introduced that movie to me. I don't know that it was a movie that I went and saw in theaters, but I know it was a movie that I watched all the time on VHS. And I never did own the DVD, but the Blu-ray was great. It was actually a really decent transfer of the movie. Looked good. Obviously wasn't made for high definition, but the transfer on Blu-ray was not horrible, as bad as some movies that I've seen. So anyway, I've kind of, blew up this movie to epic proportions here, but I haven't really talked about the movie itself. Well, it's pretty much just a day in the life in the hood. That sounds like English. I guess that works. It's just kind of the story of these two guys, Ice Cube playing a character named Craig, Chris Tucker playing his friend Smokey, and some of the shit that they go through in a typical day, dealing with parents and siblings and friends and neighbors and the neighborhood and the things that they get into, and of course the bad things that happen, and it just follows through one day pretty much, with a lot of laughs thrown in there, and obviously a lot of unrealistic things happen, and things that are just meant to make you crack up, which it's full of laughs. I would recommend this movie to just about anybody, unless you're one kind of prude and you don't want to see things like people smoking weed, hearing a lot of language, some violence and whatnot in it. But if you don't mind any of those kind of aspects, I guarantee, especially if you enjoy rap at all, enjoy Ice Cube at all, if you know that kind of, like gangster rap, if you know and understand it and you don't have a problem with any of that, in fact, if you like it, you'll really, really love this movie. I mean, like I said, that's just one pasty-faced white guy's opinion, but Friday for me is definitely one of my favorite all-time comedies that's out there. And in case anybody's curious, no, I've never seen Next Friday or Friday After Next. I don't really have any interest in seeing them. Chris Tucker was not in those movies. Ice Cube was, and then Mike Epps was there. But I don't think those could ever hold a candle to the original. Now, if the original people wanted to come back and do a fourth movie, and there have been rumors about a movie called Last Friday, and even mock-up posters for it. But if that was ever a reality, I might check that one out. But it would have to have the original core cast for sure. So anyway, those are my thoughts on Friday. Check that movie out if you have not. If you like comedies, if you don't mind some of the aspects I mentioned earlier, do yourself a favor and see it. It's great. And that's it. And I will be back shortly with another video for another movie I just got done watching that was really awesome. So stay tuned for that, and we'll see you next time.